I mean, we're talking about disruption and transformation. So I'll bring it back there. Like, first and foremost, like it's got to be a company that's willing to think and behave differently.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the CCAS update and the start of a new series that I'm starting called Discovering Disruptors, where I'm going to be interviewing members of the leadership teams from CCaaS and CX brands and products that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, a little bit aware of, so you can find out a bit more about them, what they do, where they're working and servicing. So we're leaving the big names to one side for a change, and my hope is that this is going to give you a bit more information about brands and products that you can bring into processes you're involved with, or refer to other people if they're saying, hey, look, I want to bring some fresh product, some fresh opportunity into my client's world and see what's out there. Well, that's what Discovering Disruptors is all about. And I can't think of a better company to launch it with. It's a brand that you're going to know and recognize, but maybe you don't know so much about, and that is ujet. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome Matthew and Gary from ujet to Discovering Disruptors for this first edition. So both of you, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, pleasure, James.
Thanks for having us, James.
All right, so I'll give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves. So Matt, do you want to go first, a little bit about yourself and what you do at ujet?
Perfect. My name's Matt Clare. I'm a VP of product marketing at ujet. I've been with the company for almost 3 months now, but I've been with the company really for years. So prior to joining ujet, I was an outbound product lead at Google as part of the customer engagement suite, of which ujet and Google have a quite a deep partnership on that side of things. And then prior to my time at Google, I did most of my career with a company called Mitel that some people have probably heard of before, a traditional UC and contact center vendor. Yeah, I credit them with kind of launching my career in the contact center space. And I've had the pleasure of working in this industry my entire life. So,
Gary?
Mine's not quite as exhaustive as Matt's, but yeah, so my name's Gary Suchley. I'm an account executive here at ujet, and I guess everything UK and EMEA. So I was previously at another company for 10 years in the space and made the move about a year ago. So yeah, really happy to be here, James.
Brilliant. Right, so Matt, I'll come to you then. Just for the audience, you're thinking, okay, what's this going to look like? We're going to run through a handful of questions covering a number of different areas about the ujet products and also some thought questions about where the market's going as well. I'll reiterate, this is not a demo. You guys are not about to sit here and look through clicking and screen sharing. If you guys want that, reach out to Gary and he'll sort that out for you. But Matt, question number one then. So this series is all about disruptors in the CCaaS and CX markets. Straightforward, what do you think makes ujet stand out as a disruptor from those larger platform vendors?
Yeah, great question. I think I'll start by saying that ujet has the advantage of only being a 10-year-old company. The cloud was, quite common 10 years ago. Microservices as an architecture was quite common. And a lot of the challenges that legacy platforms had been completely left kind of in the past, in the dark. So we did have a bit of an early jump on thinking differently and behaving differently as a technology company because of purely when we were founded. One of our founders, Anand, came from the mobile background, and I think, as we were talking about this for the last 20 years, we've been talking about the mobile consumer and, this change from the way that people interact from their home phone to their mobile phone. They got the power of the internet in their pocket, etc. And with Anand's background in kind of telco, we really wanted to think differently about how interactions start. So we've really built and differentiated from the get-go on that mobile experience. So providing customers with a mobile SDK so they can build really deeply integrated customer experiences into their mobile applications, and to really solve what should be simple problems. So if you think of most of the customer experiences we all have as consumers within our lives, we call a company, we authenticate to a traditional IVR, we get to a live agent, the agent authenticates us again, often with the same questions. Mm-hmm. And, this is the root of a lot of customer frustration. So by having the mobile SDK that UJET provides and integrating into a mobile app, we can do things like device level biometric authentication. You've logged into your phone with your face, you've logged into a mobile app with your fingerprint. We know who you are. We can leverage location services. So when you call, instead of saying, hi, who's calling? You say it's James. I ask you your mother's maiden name and all your social security information.
Yeah.
To go through all this, rigmarole, we're able to say, hey, James, I see you're calling from London, UK today. How can I help? Right. So
yeah.
I think that's really kind of always been one of the main differentiators for us. And so another one of the big benefits and differentiators for UJET has always been, again, in part because we're a 10-year-old company. AI was entering the contact center conversation about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So UJET was really able to embrace AI from the get-go, as opposed to bolting it on, to legacy stacks. We've been able to embrace AI at every touch point of the customer journey. So from the upfront IVA experience, transforming the traditional IVR, making it more conversational, et cetera, to leveraging all the great assistive tools and real-time conversations that can help take, your newly hired maybe fresh out of school employee and get them kind of answering with the confidence of your most skilled subject matter experts, doing things like real-time translation and real-time coaching, next best action coaching, etc. And then leveraging AI on the back end, of course. So all the supervisor management functions being kind of supplemented by AI for rich analytics, helping you understand the conversations your customers are having and how you can continually improve your operations.
Cool, really comprehensive. I think that as a consumer, one of the things that you mentioned there that resonates with me is you might have a problem you need to solve, and you're at a train station, you're at a public place, you're out and about, you don't know who's listening, and people ask you standard security questions, and it's very obvious that you're answering security questions if you're on the phone and you're suddenly saying a random word, there's about a 10-second gap, then you're saying a couple of numbers, then there's a 10-second. It's very obvious what you're doing. If that sort of sign-on process using the security access to your device circumvents that, that just feels slicker. It just feels safer straight away. And the location services as well. If people are abroad and are looking to, from where they live and are looking to resolve a query, the ability for the agent to know that up front is great. Rather than having to explain, well, actually, I'm not at home at the moment. I had this when I was holidaying in Portugal recently, and had to deal with my mobile provider, and I had to explain to them. I was like, well, I'm not at home, so no, I don't have that piece of paperwork with that account number on because I'm in another country. So it sounds really, really comprehensive already. And presumably what you're talking about there is where the platform's at currently in terms of functionality. So what's on the roadmap then for UJET?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think we've kind of, as if you think of where we're at in our journey and helping customers transform the customer experience, we're really kind of pivoting from the front end now, which I just spoke to as part of our core differentiator, to more of the employee experience side of things. So a lot of focus around maturing our workforce engagement management capabilities, things like quality management tools, bringing in automated quality management, for example, leveraging AI for scorecarding. As we've been on this journey, from a startup level company and kind of supporting contact centers with thousands of agents around the globe now, we've seen a little bit more demand for, traditional skills-based routing is one thing that we're starting to think of. And then how do we take that concept of traditional skills-based routing and also infuse that with AI? So, can you do things like automated skilling of agents based on historical conversational trends? We're also really focused on outbound and improving that outbound experience. So you'll see a lot of capabilities around self-service and campaign management, things like outbound SMS, outbound emails, campaigns, etc., from us in the next year. And that's kind of the general direction. And then, of course, bringing in the latest and greatest of AI. So if you think of as LLM models are kind of maturing along the way, becoming faster, becoming more accessible. We're seeing, the most natural conversational models that we've ever seen now. So it's getting harder and harder to even tell you're talking to a bot. Those bots are responding with empathy. Now, is it true empathy? That's a grand debate for, PhDs to go figure out, but it surely sounds like empathy. So bringing in those kind of latest and greatest conversational agent capabilities, starting to transform more with like AI-based coaching. So if you think of the way AI assistants have worked in the contact center for the last decade, it's been very much so, hey, I heard that James needs support with his fridge. Here's a KB article. Agent would click that KB article and kind of run through that support flow. Now, again, thanks to access to LLMs, it's getting a lot easier to actually coach next best action. So now we're seeing kind of this convergence between, if we have a scorecard, and if you think of a contact center having a scorecard that a supervisor would use, we know the business process you're supposed to follow for every conversation. How can AI pull that in and actually in real time coach through next best action, as opposed to just giving static responses? And then keeping AI in the loop, doing things like automated training. So think of, we had a terrible call, me and you, James. I need some coaching from my supervisor. They come over, they send me a chat. Maybe they send me some self-service module. Wouldn't it be a lot more efficient, a lot more effective from an operational perspective if you could just send me a virtual agent that role plays as the customer, walks me through that interaction, and I can continually improve my skill set.
Yeah, brilliant. And we're going to come back to AI in a couple of questions. It wouldn't be a CX related conversation if it wasn't mentioned with frequency. I think the interesting point on is it real empathy from the bots? Based on some of my recent customer service and customer experience interactions, I'd argue if it's real empathy from the humans. I think bots get a tough time, but it's like every human's perfect, and we're working from that. So from your time with ujet, and I appreciate, look, at the start of things, you said, look, it's been a few months, and maybe this is something where Gary might come in and answer as well. But without naming names, unless you want to give a customer a shout out, and I encourage you to do so if you want to. But what's been the most memorable customer need that the platform or the team has risen to, or perhaps the challenge that you're most proud of that the ujet platform has handled to date?
Yeah. I mean, this conversation is all about transformation and disruptors. So I'll give a quick nod to a financial customer use case. So recently came out an article in American Banker, which is an online publication, did a story covering both ujet and Google from an AI perspective in how we were able to transform KeyBank, which is a financial institute in the US.
Right.
And, when you think about contact centers and operations and compliance and security, like nothing is more stringent than financial services when you think of the use case, right? When we think of customers, the easiest customers for us to help transform are the ones that are digital native. When you take, a 100-year-old financial institution and you're, brick and mortar data centers running in the back office, super legacy tech stack, it's a lot to unravel. And so as KeyBank had kind of selected Google as a partner in cloud transformation, they started looking for contact center partners. Ujet was one of the first. I think Ujet actually was the first to run on Google's cloud marketplace, which brings a ton of customer benefits. So for anyone that's listening that is, a Google Cloud customer today, look for us. We're on the marketplace. We help you contribute to your commit with Google Cloud. Ease of deployment, like ton of benefits from us being accessible on the marketplace, which ultimately led to KeyBank choosing us. And at the end of the day, they saw some really incredible savings. They reduced their call volumes by 15%, really deflecting to self-service or higher value channels like, web chat, where they're supporting rich interactions over text-based channels. And ultimately, I think probably the most compelling stat, they were able to reduce their operational cost by about 10%. And this, again, this isn't a company like us, born in the cloud, ready to go. This is about 100-year-old company in the US, in the most kind of secure, compliant, regulated industry that you can possibly have. And we were able to successfully transform with some really, really compelling business impacts. I don't know, Gary, if you have another story you want to share.
No, I think KeyBank's a really great example of a transformation. And I think, without sort of giving another sort of customer name away or anything like that, I think they're the customers that we've really had real success with, them transformations on the front end, but also the back end, how they operate and how they touch their customers, all these digital channels and digital experiences that we can facilitate. So yeah, I mean, KeyBank's a really good example there.
I'll give another one. I won't name the customer because it's not public at this point in time, but since I'm on here with my Canadian accent, and you guys are obviously from the other side of the pond, we do have a kind of travel customer based out of the UK. And I think when companies think about the benefits of AI within our space, within customer experience and contact center, they often think like that's the easiest way to save money. And there's, depending where you look, rather conflicting data around, are companies actually like replacing humans with bots?
Yeah.
And I think in some cases you're seeing it, in some cases you're not. But this travel customer of ours in the UK, the really compelling part of their story is through kind of improving their deflection and containment rates and driving more interactions to self-service, keeping their existing pool of employees, they were able to branch out and support other regions. So the company's actually expanded its footprint geographically, expanded its revenue, without having to bring on additional employees to do that task, thanks to virtual agents. So this is a really good benefit of AI, not in the traditional sense of like thinking human replace, because human replace is not always the case, but you can find that benefit in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies talk about redeploy, reskill, upskill when it comes to agents, and that's a really good example there, isn't it? And I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of talk, a lot of media, a lot of content about, are companies actually using AI for effective benefit? Is it just being driven by the vendors because it's the latest and greatest, and they can just push it? But there you're seeing an example, a real world example of the other side of what people are looking for, which is that upskill, that redeploy, that redefine what the agent role means, supported by the AI coming in a practical way. So that's fantastic. And it's almost like I'd sent you these questions in advance, Matt and Gary, but I was going to say next, obviously we've heard about what AI does within ujet, but more generally speaking, if you're talking to customers on behalf of ujet, but just thinking more generally, what do you think the benefits that companies should be looking for are when it comes to AI? Where are the real wins for them?
This is a great question. And something I'm definitely passionate about. I think as an industry, we technologists have pushed the wrong narrative. I think, for the last 10 years, the narrative has been deflect and contain and improve handle times. And if you're a contact center operations manager, sure, those are things that you're looking to do, and those metrics may mean a lot to you. But when you think about what really matters to the C-level, they probably don't care about containment rates and deflection. They probably don't care about handle times. It's what's the result of the deflection and the containment and the handle time improvements that you can actually drive from AI. So I've been very vocal recently about kind of rethinking the way that the industry as a whole thinks about kind of operational success and business value. And it's part of that's been driven by, in my own conversations with customers over the last 5 years or so, I've actually heard this recurring theme from customers that we're over containing, we're over driving deflection. And there are cases where, we had a little chuckle earlier about can bots be empathetic, but the reality is there's certain conversations that we don't ever want a bot to handle.
Yeah.
If I'm frustrated with my service provider and call to cancel, why would we ever leave that conversation with a bot? So there is this huge trend that we're seeing, which is, as bots are picking up troubleshooting and traditional support service, like the repetition and the mundane tasks, how do we get employees on higher value tasks, and what are those tasks? And I think what I've seen is it's getting your employees on, retention, getting your employees on renewals, getting your employees on cross-sell upsells. And these are conversations where at the end of the day, like if you think of yourself as a consumer, those are conversations you typically want to have with a person, not a bot. So it really should come as no surprise. And coming back to kind of the shift in thinking around business metrics, like the real value from shifting your employees from handling these kind of repetitive, mundane troubleshooting questions to handling higher value conversations is you're driving bottom line revenue, you're driving cross-sell upsell contribution, you're driving customer lifetime value, and really starting to see like those core operational metrics of deflection, containment, average handle time start to contribute to like true business impact on the back end.
Brilliant. And we've mentioned your customers a few times, from 100-year-old FS businesses to more contemporary travel businesses. If there's people listening to this and they're reviewing their existing platform, or they're consultants working with companies that are reviewing platforms, and they're thinking, okay, so, what's ujet's sort of target? This might be a very easy question. What sort of company should get in touch with the ujet team to explore the product?
I mean, we're talking about disruption and transformation. So I'll bring it back there. Like, first and foremost, like it's got to be a company that's willing to think and behave differently. Like if you want to rebuild, traditional ACD contact center stack from 30 years ago, we're probably not your company. If your goal is, cloud native, deeply integrated with the CRM, deeply integrated to mobile apps or your web page, and really embracing AI and transformation. I think embracing AI is probably the heart of this. You don't want to use AI to rebuild a DTMF IVR from 20 years ago. You want to use AI to actually transform your business. So having that mindset first and foremost is probably the right sort of company that we'd be looking for. If you are cloud native, it's a heck of a lot easier to make that jump. I talked about the benefits of Google Cloud and our partnership there. If you're a Google Cloud customer, that there's a lot of added benefit of coming along for that ride. And then when we think of kind of top verticals, the nice thing about contact center and customer experience, of course, is it's horizontal and every business has customers. So every business has a need for the software that we're producing. But top kind of segments for us would be retail, technology, software services, on-demand services. We've done really well. So again, think of that mobile app experience, ride sharing, on-demand pet services, those types of experiences are all a really great fit for the product.
Brilliant. And then lastly, stepping away from the product, but just more broadly, think about the sector. What are your predictions for the CCaaS world in the next year? What do you see growing in popularity? I get the sense we're going to hear AI, but otherwise, and perhaps more interestingly, what do you see fading away as well?
Yeah, so I kind of hinted to some of these answers. I think, AI has done a good job at the front end of the conversation. That's really been the focus so far. How do we automate conversations, get conversations deflected from the contact center? How do we use AI to supplement an employee conversation in real time with a customer? I think what we're going to see in the next couple of years is really the back end. So post-call automation across how do we leverage agentic AI to actually do automation across disparate tools? How do we have this convergence of AI agents who very well may be speaking to AI agents very soon, and starting to do things like, if I'm doing research on my phone, I ask Gemini to go find me the best deal on a flight, and then I tell Gemini to book it for me, and suddenly, an AI agent on my phone's talking to an AI agent at an organization that's servicing me. So I think that it's definitely the pointy edge of the knife right now. There's a lot of thought leadership and a lot of work to do as that all becomes a reality, but it's coming in quite hot. And then I think disruption. If you think of the industry over the last 20 years, there's been times where, CCaaS is the heart of CX, CRM is the next CCaaS, all right, and AI is the next CCaaS, and AI is the next CRM, and so this convergence, and we're starting to see it, all the CRM vendors are dipping their toes or fully committing to getting involved in the CCaaS space. You've seen all the hyperscalers enter the space. You're seeing AI pure play vendors realize that the easiest way for them to integrate to a stack is to own CCaaS. So the AI pure plays are getting into CCaaS now. You've seen NICE's recent acquisition of Cognigy. I think this market is so ripe for convergence and disruption in that regard, where everybody's kind of been racing for who owns the desktop, who owns the experience, at what stage. The CRMs obviously own the journey end to end. I think we're in for an absolute shakeup in the next 24 months in terms of what are the logos you're seeing. What are those organizations? What capabilities are those organizations providing? And there's going to be a lot of shakeup in the future.
Yeah, I agree. This year's been quite transformative in terms of the sector, but I agree. I think the next 12, 18 months are going to be some landmark acquisitions that will dwarf what we've seen so far. And there's some big names out there that haven't quite produced their checkbooks yet. And then I think, disruptors like ujet and others are going to really, really make their mark as well. So it's, as ever, a dynamic space, and that's what makes it exciting to be a part of. Look, Matthew, Gary, it's been a real pleasure. I really do appreciate your time. And I hope for you guys watching and listening, it's been useful. I'll just reiterate again, if you do want to look at the ujet platform and you want a demo and you're in Europe, should I say, Gary, to come to you, is that fair?
Europe's good. My French is no good, James. So, but yeah, Europe's good.
We get Google Translate on it. But if you're in Europe, reach out to Gary and he can sort that out for you. If you're over the other side, I'm sure if you reach out to Matthew, he can point you in the right direction. I was lucky enough to be invited along to the London event for ujet and met some of the North American and global sales team. Lovely, lovely people to an individual. Really lovely people. So I would wholeheartedly say get in touch with them. Say, hey, look, let's have a look at this product, because I really enjoyed the event just because I did get to see the demo actually, and I was really impressed, which is why I wanted to get these guys on first in discovering disruptors. So Matthew, Gary, thank you both for your time again.
Yeah, pleasure, James.